Hello from the United States of America. My name is Richard Gerling, and I'm a police lieutenant in the city of Hillsborough, state of Oregon. I'm also a retired United States Coast Guard commander, and I currently sit as adjunct faculty with Pacific University and the Graduate School of Psychology as part of a research team that studies the impact of mindfulness training upon police officers and other first responders. Maybe the most important is that I'm a student of stress and trauma, the human experience, and human performance. And for the last 15 years, I've been on a quest to determine the best skills training available to train police officers, to not only enhance their performance, to meet their community where they are, and to perform to meet community expectations and to contribute to the greater good, but also to enhance the health and well-being and the resiliency of the individual police officer, and further, to enhance the organizational efficacy and the health of the organization, to improve how we each lead ourselves and lead others inside of our organizations. And after researching a lot of different kinds of trainings, I found that most elite performers, whether it was in the military or in professional athletics or amateur endurance athletics or other places where people are performing at their peak on a frequent basis, the common thread was a mind-body training intervention. And here in the United States, we incorporated very little mind-body interventions into how we train police officers. And through the course of my study and the course of my research, what I found is that there is no other skills training that has as much impact on very important outcomes as mindfulness meditation training for police officers. To get started, let's just talk a little bit about this thing called mindfulness and what exactly it is. If you're like me, this term mindfulness can be slightly annoying. However, it's really just attention training. We are training attention, maybe 3 different kinds of attention to oversimplify here. We learn to train active attention, we learn to train passive attention, and we learn to train what we call meta attention, which maybe in other words we might describe as situational awareness. Training attention is a really critically important skill, and we rarely ever specifically train to attention. The challenge is training attention is really, really difficult. There's nothing about clearing our mind or frankly even relaxing when it comes to training mindfulness. It is very hard work and very rewarding work. So now let's talk about why. Why are we training mindfulness to police officers, and why am I giving my strongest recommendation to my friends in Croatia that mindfulness skills training is a critical foundation for not only police officers but many other high reliability professions? So the first piece is that mindfulness is a trauma skills training. It allows us to more skillfully navigate trauma. And that's essentially our job. Our jobs are to meet human suffering under all kinds of stressful situations, and mindfulness allows us to be a little more acutely present, and it allows us to take in more information, to make sense of that information, and to make perhaps more informed decisions. And so from a tactical standpoint or operational standpoint, there's all kinds of arguments to be made that mindfulness will help us remain more calm, take in information, and make more informed decisions with that information. Another way of saying that is we're going to perform better under acutely stressful or traumatic situations. From a humanitarian standpoint, mindfulness allows us to show up in the world with greater equanimity, which simply means that we're aware of our own bias, our own judgments, and we're working with those biases and judgments so that they don't become the tail that wags the dog. They don't get in the way of how we treat other people. And furthermore, they don't get in the way of our own perceptual boundaries of how we see the world. And so things like inattentional blindness can be staved off so that we don't just see what we expect to see, but we see, in fact, what we take in. And this is one of the really interesting things about being a first responder, is how frequently we show up on a radio call or show up on a critical incident, and we have all kinds of our own judgments and our own expectations that get in the way with our cognitive agility. And so we train in mindfulness to improve our skill of regulating stress, to improve our skill at decision-making, and it deeply impacts what we call our cognitive agility, our ability to really use this remarkable human brain, this decision-making machine that we've all been gifted with, but to use it in more and more skillful ways. First responders, particularly police officers, are being asked to do one of the most complex roles in society today. And this role challenges every fiber of the police officer's humanity, and it has significant negative impacts on the health and well-being of the police officer. And you don't need to be a scientist to understand that when a police officer suffers from occupational trauma, and when the police officer likely isn't getting the appropriate interventions, the medical intervention, the psychological intervention, the social intervention, maybe even the spiritual intervention, to enter into a period of recovery, that our performance will suffer greatly. And so mindfulness skills training brings us back to ourselves and allows us to work with the trauma that we experience so that we can make more informed decisions about how we care for ourselves. So let's talk a bit about the research. There are thousands of research studies here in the United States alone over the last 40 years around mindfulness training and its efficacy with a variety of different populations. Let's talk about the results with first responders. So since 2012, my research team at Pacific University has been training mindfulness-based resilience training to police officers and other first responders. We've done 3 different research studies, and we have found statistically significant improvements in things like reducing anger and aggression, reducing alcohol use, improving pain management, improving sleep, improving compassion and empathy, and reducing something called experiential avoidance, which is we just avoid things that we're uncomfortable with. Well, mindfulness training with first responders has allowed us to be a little more comfortable with being uncomfortable and not avoiding some of those things that we typically would avoid, whether it's relationships or problems that we need to resolve. And finally, one of the really interesting biomarkers that we found in our most recent study was a reduction in cortisol levels. Cortisol, as you all know, is a neurochemical that's related to stress. And for many first responders, it's one of the neurochemicals that is significantly dysregulated. And the dysregulation of cortisol creates inflammation, which activates epigenetic processes and creates disease. And so if we have something that can regulate cortisol, help us to sleep better, make us less angry and aggressive, or maybe said differently, less reactive, improve our humanity and our emotional intelligence skills like empathy and compassion, improve our ability to sleep and work with pain, I think we're really on the right track here. And so currently, we've got other research projects underway at Pacific University, at various other universities that we're working with, and there's other efforts across the United States to do some research around training mindfulness to first responders, specifically police officers. So the next few years is going to give us a lot more data. And I'm really excited about the work there in Croatia and the research there to see what kind of outcomes that we see both qualitatively and quantitatively. So finally, I want to speak a little bit to how do you move forward? How do you integrate mindfulness skills training into a police organization? And this is kind of complicated. There's a number of recommendations that I make that I'm only going to mention here. I won't talk at length about them because that would take more time than we have. But allow me just to share with you a few recommendations that I've developed over the course of the last decade. The first one is educate your leadership team. We've got to educate ourselves. We've got to move through the misperceptions around what mindfulness is, look at the science, and look at the need as a result of what we know about occupational trauma. Create a team of champions within your organization. Identify half dozen or whatever the number of people is. Create that team of leaders. Educate those leaders. Get them some experience in mindfulness training and allow that team to guide policymaking. And build a trauma-informed and performance-focused strategic vision for your organization and community. This is a high-level ask, but it's critically important to understand what is the vision here. Mindfulness skills training doesn't have to be just another checkbox police training. It can be the foundation for transformation, for police reform, and I know that makes a lot of us police officers uncomfortable, but it's the evolution of policing in the 21st century, regardless of what country, what part of the world you're from, that is the critical need for this profession in the 21st century. We must evolve. Mindfulness skills training gives us the foundation to do that individually and organizationally. As you move forward with your efforts to integrate mindfulness into your organization, it's important to look at developing peer coaches. These are not certified mindfulness trainers, because that takes years to get to, but peer coaches. Get them some advanced training, allow them to come back to your organization and be champions, part of that team of champions, but to begin to teach some small mindfulness practices in training environments and administrative environments as well. The other piece is to develop certified mindfulness trainers. Select a handful of people in your organization and put them into accredited mindfulness teacher training programs. They exist in Europe, they exist here in the States, they exist in other parts of the world, and it's critically important to have at least one certified trainer inside your organization. And on that note, collaborate. Collaborate with community partners. This could be your partners at the university. This could be partners in the community that teach yoga and mindfulness and other mind-body interventions. But it's critically important as you move forward to have partners in your community to prevent the groupthink, to prevent the often myopic thinking that comes when we are left kind of on our own to figure out the solutions. This, again, is about police transformation. This is about police reform. This is about the evolution of policing in the 21st century, and we must have our community partners on board to help us with this. Integrate mindfulness practices into the leadership and cultural rhythms of your organization. So maybe the next senior leadership team meeting begins with just a few minutes of breathing exercises or silence or even meditation practice. And I know that sounds like a pretty heavy lift, but even just a few minutes of quiet before an intense senior leadership team meeting will make a big difference in reducing reactivity and preparing those leaders to really fully be present, fully engaged, and work with those three arenas we talked about, the thinking mind, the feeling state, and the physical body. Study outcomes, both qualitative and quantitative measures. So look for results, as we all do. Publish your results in community and other forums. Network with other researchers, network with other organizations that are interested in doing the same kind of work in reform and integration of mindfulness practice. And finally, this is probably the most important piece for the leaders that are listening to this video and watching this video, and that is commit to your own deep personal work. If this is simply another training strategy, it will in fact just be another training strategy that has moderate impact. If leaders at all across the organization, if leaders commit to doing their own personal work, to their own practice of self-development through skills and awareness and compassion, you will in fact transform your organization over time. To summarize, mindfulness skills training is critically important as a police training for organizations across the globe who are interested in getting to enhanced human performance and enhanced humanity. Mindfulness allows us to weave humanity back into our warrior ethos, to create a warrior humanitarian ethos that's capable of meeting others in their moments of deep suffering and skillfully navigating those incidents that we are called to respond to with the greatest cognitive agility, the greatest compassion, and the greatest skill possible to navigate that, to find solutions, to get to outcomes that meet all of our departmental, our organizational mandates through policy and procedure, but more importantly, meet the expectations of the community and each of us as individuals. Thank you so much for watching this video. I salute you all for the great work you're doing there with mindfulness, the courageous effort it takes to bring mindfulness training into your organization. And I wish you all a safe and healthy 2019.